2024 was already looking like a disaster at the box office following 2023, some of the delays we saw, and of course, just quite frankly, a lot of things that people are not interested in. And the first couple months at the 2024 box office have been even more disastrous than people expected, especially when you look at the newest superhero release, Madam Web. Madam Web sees big drop at second weekend box office, but there's a bright side. You know what the bright side is? Despite it only making $6 million in its second weekend, horrifically bad, when things like Morbius or the Marvels even had $10 million plus second weekends. You know what the positive part is? Well, it didn't have as big of a drop-off percentage-wise as something like the Marvels, guys. That's our bright side. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, you know, when you start off with Madam Web with only a $15 million normal 3-day weekend, it should have been more if it had a normal opening because it had Thursday previews included in that. But no, that's one of the reasons it's a low drop. And it's still dropped over 60% from one of the most pathetic, worst openings we've seen in history. A over 60% drop to only $6 million. This is a movie that actually is in danger of not crossing $100 million worldwide. And ironically, somehow, some way, even the mainstream media can't figure out that despite people talking about something and making fun of something and mocking something, that it doesn't always translate to box office revenue. Look at this shit from the New York Times. The internet is obsessed with Madam Web. The box office, well, ... The new addition to the Spider-Man franchise has been panned by critics and mocked on social media. But if all press is good press, why are its ticket sales so dismal? Let me easily answer that question for you, New York Times, because all press is not good press. Spoiler alert, if people are talking about something and shitting on it and telling you how fucking bad it is, that is not a good thing for a movie. Movies want good word of mouth. That's what they want. Now, can there be a situation every once in a great while, once in every 50 bad movies that comes out, once in every 100 bad movies that come out, can there be like a meme or something like that that creates a cult-like following around something specific? Maybe it goes on to have more success than people thought. You know what? I will grant you that. Once in a great while, something like that will happen. But the reality is, when people are shitting on something the way they are Madam Web, even if people are talking about it, even if it's in the zeitgeist and people are mentioning it, that does not mean it's a good thing, which is why it's so stupid. And I talk about this anytime that parrot analytics gets brought up, specifically whenever you hear people that are trying to say, oh, this was the most watched thing, or this is the most watched streaming show, and they use parrot analytics to use that as an example. That's why it's so fucking terrible, because parrot analytics is a joke. Parrot analytics takes what people are talking about on social media and assumes that those people are watching that content. When, as we can tell, with something like Madam Web, that is just simply not the case. It is one of the most talked about things out there. Yet now it's number 4 in its second weekend at the box office, and no one is seeing it. The fact that you have the New York Times asking this question, there's so many people talking about it, but yet no one's going to see it because everyone's talking about what a massive pile of shit it is. And maybe you could get away with saying all press is good press back in the fucking 70s or 80s when that kind of thing might have actually been a reality for people to know who someone is or know what something is. That's not the case anymore. Not in this current news cycle when everyone and their mother can make a TikTok video or an Instagram video or whatever, and people can laugh at something on a big scale like this. No, all press is not good press. Shocker, right? Gary tweeted this out. I was told we only help these films when we cover them. Guess what? If you make a video talking about what a fucking nightmarish disaster something is, that typically has a very negative effect on that thing. Now, if you're just one person, that's one person out of, how many people, and the vast majority of people really like something, probably isn't going to have that big of an effect, is it? But the truth is that when something's this bad, despite it being talked about, despite it being mocked and ridiculed by everyone, despite so many people liking the conversations around it just because of how funny it is, it does not equate to sales. Being critical of something does not mean you're helping that thing out. That is such an antiquated view of all press is good press. That is such bullshit. And it's why these fucking people, right, these studios are so desperate to get shills on their side, to get these outlets on their side, because the reality is all press is not good press. And the type of press that Madam Web had not only is disastrous, but when you compare that to what the actual movie is, just a complete abomination in every sense of the word, in every sense of the word, in every sense of traditional filmmaking. This thing was a complete colossal failure. Combine those things, and you have one of the biggest superhero flops we've seen over the past 20 years.